England. Oh, fuck, I keep remember every time I switch it off, my music goes. I was enjoying my elevator music, you know.
Intro is the only thing Elon Musk did on Twitter space that I love. Every other thing he has done since it's just useless. This intro is awesome, man.
Dude,
Ah,
I was
how's your
enjoying my
day, man?
music. My day was busy as hell, man.
Yeah, mine too.
I didn't even get. I tell you what. I probably watched about 50 minutes of testing. I haven't seen
Ah,
because
okay.
I've
I did more than you. I could sneak in close to 3 hours of it. So underneath my
nah.
browser, I just put it there. I pretended I was doing my research with my headphone, but I was actually listening to Formula One commentary.
I went. I left when I left this morning. Left out. They just cleared up the red flag.
Ah, okay,
So
okay, yeah,
I was
yeah,
watching a bit of it on my phone, but then I did the underground.
yeah. And
By
then
the
you
time,
lost signals, basically.
yeah, by
Yeah.
the time I
Okay.
got into our office, I was there for about 2 hours. Me and my coworker, he's going on holiday in the next couple of weeks, so
Oh,
he's just
okay.
showing me some stuff that he
Some
wants me
stuff to
to
say.
cover
Yeah.
for him, and then I had to
Yeah.
move from there to go to another site, another one of our buildings, because
Ah,
um, I work in
yeah.
finance. I'm in the
Okay.
finance department, so we're having some finance clinic. We tend to move around the organization, so we get to familiarize ourselves with the whole
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
and other people get to know who's in the finance
Who
team.
you're working with? Yeah.
So I moved there. It was yeah, but I'm home now and I'm tired. I didn't even have time to have lunch, dude. That's yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
quite a day
So
there.
you
That's
see
quite
my
a day.
throat. You see, I revealed myself to them, man. Do you see me without my throat mask? I revealed my true identity. I'm gonna change that to my profile picture.
Yeah, we add it to your
Yeah, that's
profile
gonna be my
picture.
new
Yeah.
profile picture. I'm gonna actually do a
Yeah.
poll and see if they vote that it should go up. I'm gonna put it up. But anyway, man, fill me in because I've been kind of like sneaking on Twitter to
Yeah,
find out
but
what's
for me,
going on.
it was the part of
Reveal
the
myself to them, man. Do you see me for
the
my?
I was mainly focused on what Mercedes was doing, as opposed to if George was driving or Lewis was driving. Those were my
Hmm.
key. Like, my key observation was at least they've engineered purposing out of this car, which is awesome because compared to last season's testing, this was way, 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 way better than what that allowed them to do. Then is, from what I can see, they were basically testing the range of this car's setup today. How far can they push it? So, for example, the rear wing you were seeing in that car is the downforce level you see in a track like,
Yeah,
say,
that rear.
Monaco,
Yeah, I
Monaco,
noticed
for
that. I
example.
noticed that on the
Yeah,
launch spec,
Monaco, for
the
example.
rear
So
wing was huge.
huge. I think that's probably the heaviest rear wing they will have. This is, I don't know. I'm still corrected on that, but that's Monaco level rear wing on a track like Bahrain, for example. Those two don't
Yeah,
mix. So I think what they were doing was trying to put a lot of load on this car and see how much they can set. But one of the problems the W13 had last year was that they actually have a very narrow window to set the car up. And even if they do that, still, it's small. Lewis was saying at one point that you do something so small and the car drastically
yeah.
moved the other way. Visit for today, what do we actually do? So what I noticed was they will, for example, George will come out from the garage, then he will do some runnings around, and then you see the delta time plus 3 seconds behind what the other things were doing, which is fine. And then he goes back, he come back, is plus four. I'm thinking that's not the fact that George or Luis is not consistent. It's probably they're adding more load to it. They're trying to see how far they can push the car and then
To
get
see if it
some
would induce the
performance.
porpoising,
Yeah, how far they can
because
go with that. They just probably correlate
because
the data from the sims and other
I did
places.
read someone saying what they also think they were doing was they're back to they're gathering data with this setup to correlate it to what they did last year at the same time.
Hmm.
So it wasn't a matter of okay, let's try and optimize, try different setups and so on. Let's just run it in a basic
Hmm.
configuration and see if the numbers,
And compare
yeah,
data.
and see if
Yeah,
the numbers what
yeah,
they're getting today matches what they have
mm,
on the
yeah,
system on
yeah.
the data. And I saw someone post a tweet with Toto's comments, and he's like saying, "Well, last year this time they literally knew they weren't in,
Do you
they
have
had no
problem? Yeah,
chance of winning a race, but
yeah,
this year."
Yeah.
after what they've seen so far, he's happy and he thinks they're going to be there or thereabouts. So which is
Which means
yeah,
that's what I'm happy about, because it then informed me that they can actually develop the car organically the way you should develop a car over a
yeah.
season, as opposed to last year trying to solve a problem with purposing
So
and all
they've
this.
so I guess it proves that they actually understood what was the issue last year and they've actually rectified the issues this year. Granted,
I
the
can.
raising the side of the floor by the extra 50 millimeters and the venturi tunnels and so on, that helps with the porpoising. But then I see someone said the Ferrari were porpoising.
Yeah,
But
so
but
that's an interesting observation too.
but
Yes,
is it
because Ferrari was
porpoising or they were
purposing.
just like because it's a bumpy track?
No, you can see that they were purposing. Ferrari was purposing. I think another team, when you there was a tweet that Bryson shared, where he, because if you want to see purposing, go to turn
Yeah, I
12. I
saw
think
that.
it's naturally loaded. You can, yes. So that happened with Ferrari, even on the straight. I think because Ferrari's purposing doesn't affect them, there was no need to actually engineer it out of the car. Basically, unlike Mercedes, because whatever they were getting from the car last year, purposely was just masking it up for them, so they couldn't tell which one was purposely
Yeah, because that,
or which
that that
one
was
was.
one of the things that confused me last year is that um, the Ferrari was porpoising like crazy, but it was still quick.
Mhm.
And you
Exactly.
think, okay,
Mhm.
the Mercedes is porpoising, but it was rubbish. So
It
okay,
was
what's
it
going
was
on? How is that? Was that
what's
making
going
any
on.
sense?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
what I've seen so far, like I said, I haven't really watched much of the testing. I'm
Mm,
working from home tomorrow, so I'll definitely get to see the whole thing. It
okay.
seems like they've had a good start, and
Oh
I
yes,
saw the straight line speed comparison. They were doing like 320 without DRS. Red Bull was doing three.
and
Yeah,
with that heavy rear wing attachment, so that was even a positive for me. I think everybody at Mercedes right now will breathe a collective sigh of
yeah.
relief that whatever they did over this winter actually worked. With if it was just to eliminate purposing from the car alone, that's a huge engineering feat for them.
But
So then from there
But
they can
remember, we
just
said
find ways
I
to
said it.
optimize the car.
I
Yeah.
kept saying it. Look, you don't win 8 championships in a row by being lucky. You have to work, and these
Yeah.
guys aren't stupid. And
Yeah.
and this is last year was a sign that showed us God has a sense of humor because, like I said, there's no way God could allow these guys to build a W11 and then W11 and 12 and then turn around and give us a W13. Now,
Build a
he had to be
debut
playing a
13.
joke on
Yeah.
us because
That's an
you know what I mean.
anomaly.
That's
Yeah.
just, but
An exception.
the
Yeah.
only I think the only problem for them now is that it's now a game of catch up. I think if they had
Hmm.
started last year with how they've started this year, I think it would have been a
Hmm.
different outcome.
A different ball
And
game
yeah,
entirely.
but now you're talking about you're gonna have to try and catch Red Bull, who we know
Yeah.
they're gonna improve. They've made gains, and even if they didn't make any gains, the advantage they had was still quite a decent amount. I remember the first
Hmm.
place I said I think I'd be happy if if the first race were like 2 3 tenths or four
Three
tenths
times down. Yeah.
off
You said.
Red
Yeah.
Bull. I can
Yeah.
work with that because given coming from
Hmm.
where they're coming from, it's a lot to catch up. And you're talking about you're chasing a moving target. I
A moving
Yeah.
target is.
So
Yeah.
I'm coming to you in a second backstage. So where they are now. I like I said, I haven't really seen much, but from what I've seen across the time, and obviously
Well, the car
you still
behaved
get the
way
you're still
better.
getting the usual
Yeah.
people panicking and all sort of this and that. But I don't know what they expect. I don't know why they thought Mercedes were going to come and just like
I watched
pull up
I watched
pull up
the W
trees.
for 13
Yeah,
last year. Yeah. If that car comes out from the last corner, it is the rear end is twerking every time. But you don't see that in the W14 today. You can see the stability is there, even when you have gust of wind, just a little wobble here and there. But basically, you can see that the car is more stable, and under braking is also more stable compared to. So that's a very good place to start for the
definitely.
Mercedes.
And I think that's what they were looking for. They were looking for
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
some.
Hmm.
I think that for
A
them, the first
baseline,
day was
yes.
about okay.
Hmm.
Let's let's see what if our simulations matches to what on
Yep.
track matches our simulation, and if it does, then okay, they can breathe, as you said, they can breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay, yes,
Mhm.
we're on the right track. let's now start looking at adding more performance and see how quickly they can claw the
performance.
gap back. All right, hold on. Backstage. Thanks, Kingsley. Backstage. What's up, man?
Hey
What's up, man?
Thanos. Hey everyone. Hey Kingsley. Yeah, good. I've enjoyed watching testing today. As you guys have been saying, it's been a solid start for Mercedes. I think they've had a really steady day. It's been reliable. I think that's definitely one of the most important things. The last thing they wanted is for the engine to blow up and the suspension to not work. And they
that's
the last thing they would have
I see
wanted.
what you did. I see what you did. I see what you did. Good one. That idiot judge. Oh, God. Yeah, go on.
So they've had a really good solid day. I mean, in fact, all 10 teams really. I know Aston had a bit of a dodgy start when the car went 4 corners and stopped, and then I know McLaren had an issue with the front right, but other than that, all the teams have had a good start in terms of reliability.
The front right was still braking system, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were having to put tape on the braking system.
Yeah, and the same problem we were having last year too. Brake.
But they think it was something to do. What was it that I think it was Buxton was saying that apparently it was an issue with manufacturing, but it's something that they can resolve by the race next week.
Okay.
But even then, Lando was looking quick. He was still looking relatively quick in comparison to the other midfield teams. If we're taking the times with a massive pinch of salt. But yeah, I think George and Lewis both look comfortable behind the car. The porpoising does seem to have disappeared, which is good. I think they're probably going to be a little bit behind Red Bull. And I think the thing we have to remember with Red Bull is that their development cycle or their development ceiling is so much lower this year. A, because of the World Championship and losing runs because of that, but also because of the penalties they've received as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there is room for both them and Ferrari to catch Red Bull up because Ferrari looked quick despite the porpoising they were having.
Which was the same for them last year. But again,
exactly,
the problem here is we're talking about Ferrari, a team that's historically has been indifferent. Put it that way. You can't tell which Ferrari you're going to get on a race weekend, much less an entire season. So,
I think this season will be different.
I don't know.
That's just my personal thing.
Going back to
with Ferrari, they were saying that they're going to bring a lot more upgrades to the car this year as well. So, because they did stop their development quite early last year, but they do seem to have a bigger package of upgrades ready to go. Because I think they are thinking with the championship more in mind, I suspect.
But here's my question: Why did they stop the development early last year? Well,
because of reliability of the engine, they couldn't perform that car with the engine.
There was no point. You still could get performance otherwise in other aspects.
It will be masked because if you're running your engine at the optimal position you want to run it, then you can bring development. If it doesn't work, it's not working. So, for example, you bring development and it's not working, you can't tell if it's that upgrade or is the engine that.
But you can have some idea because you already know you're not running the engine at. Well, I guess I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I get your point.
Cost cap as well. We can't forget the cost cap.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm always indifferent to Ferrari because they've always flattered to the seat. They turn up and they look good, but then
I think you secretly like Ferrari, but you're just annoyed that they don't win. That's what I think.
Sorry, no, who secretly like Ferrari?
You.
Did this dude just tweet a puppet? What the fuck is this supposed to be? Did you? What's this? Who's this Apex dude? Because what the hell is this in my? What? I'm a bit. Did you see that guy on the this thing?
Oh yeah,
what
I see it.
What is that supposed to be?
No. NFT.
What did he?
Huh?
What did he write? I didn't see that.
It's an NFT.
Yeah, but
it's an NFT.
Do you want to do an NFT gorilla with Lewis Hamilton? Don't you think that's kind of a, you know what I mean? Think about it. Think about it. If
you're pushing it,
you're not pushing it. You've pushed it. You don't use a gorilla to represent a black person in an NFT. Come on, that just come on.
Yeah, not good,
dude. Dude, fix your shit up. Don't do that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Baxter. Go on, Karen.
Yeah, one last thing to say is I think that the preseason rumours of Aston making progress seem to be true. Alonso was looking quick. I think the time he did was probably more of a glory run, but he made some mistakes in a second lap that would have been quicker than Max's quickest lap. So I think when he gets that car hooked up, I think that Aston is going to be fast, and I think they're definitely the team that have made the biggest gain. Certainly from the first day of testing. Obviously, we've got 2 more days to see. Fernando's in the car all day tomorrow. But yeah, I think Aston
I was in all
are
day
going to be
tomorrow
quick.
if he was in today. So
No,
what about Djokovic?
Djokovic is on standby.
Yeah, but wasn't Djokovic
Yeah,
in today?
Djokovic is on standby, but
Okay.
Fernando's all day tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a glory run. But in saying that, I tweeted it. You can see this morning. You can see why. Who's that? Who's that? Oh, dude, meet him right. You can see why Red Bull were fighting so hard to keep Dan Fallows out of Aston's reach, because he was pretty much Adrian Newey's second. He was the era guy at Red Bull, because in the last couple of years, Red Bull has lost the 2 best era guys. They lost Peter Pedroma to McLaren, and now they lost Dan Fallows to Aston. So, but like I said, I mean, they're going to develop some way of keeping Adrian Newey alive until he's 200 years old. Because if he leaves that team's pretty much going to be defunct. It's dead. It's not going anywhere, because I don't think they have anybody who can replace him. I've read somewhere that, this year he'll only be focusing 50% on the team, because he's looking at working with the road car project and so on. I'm like, if Agent New is only 50% committed to them this year, they're gonna. I can see it not going so well, because they can't replace him. I remember what happened in Turkey 2020. Was it 2020 or 20? Yeah,
2020,
when
yeah,
when he
2020.
didn't turn up, and everyone was like,
Yeah,
the reason why they performed so bad was because New wasn't there. Which then,
new
if that's
is
the
not
case,
around.
then
He couldn't. They couldn't set up the car. It wasn't even
yeah.
racing. It was designing. The setup was the problem.
So it's
He wasn't around. They couldn't set up the car. That was crazy,
yeah,
man.
which is kind of odd that, But anyway, that's not neither here or there. I'm not really worried focusing on Red Bull per se, but I want to see have any of the Merc drivers come out and giving statements as yet, because I want to hear what they have to say more than anything else. I know Toto has given his piece and said, you know what, he's happy and they feel. But I want to hear the drivers, because I think you can tell more from them than you can tell anybody else. And I'm one also given they only have 3 days left. There's only 3 days of testing this year. Are they gonna? I know Mike Elliott said they had an upgrade package in the wind tunnel. Are they gonna bring that to? What are they gonna do tomorrow? Are they gonna go with a different rear wing tomorrow? Because that shit looks like a Bondo, and I think that's
That's
the problem.
oh
And
yeah, that's what
I
I
think
think
that's the
it is.
exact same wing they ran the whole of last season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That wing is heavy. Yeah, it's a lot now.
yeah,
It's basically.
thanks for the update. I'm pleasantly pleased. I can live with that, because the biggest worry for everyone was, will the car at least look like it's a racing car?
Mm-hmm.
Look better than the W13, which thankfully it does. So.
Oh,
And,
absolutely. It
and
does
and you
better.
know these guys, when it comes to developing a car, they know how to develop a car, because
You can't develop
yeah,
Mercedes. They know the development they bring to a car. It works like magic. If they are if something's in the works at the Winton there, I think they already have a direction they want to go right
because
now.
I
I'm
mean, if
telling
you
you
look at
so.
last year, Silverstone, case in point, they brought an upgrade to
Yeah,
Silverstone, and they pretty much said they didn't test it. They
yeah.
just came up with the idea
On
and just
vibes,
printed,
went
built
for
it,
it.
and put it
Yeah.
in the car, and it worked. So they didn't really test. So
The previous year, 2021, Silverstone too, they brought upgrade, and that was the only upgrade they brought that took them to the final of that year,
yeah, I think
basically.
So I think when it comes to a development race, I think they can match Red Bull toe for toe for
Yep,
toe. So but
absolutely.
the question is, how much more
How much
performance will their
deficit do you have
upgrades bring
behind?
compared to the Red Bull? And that's the thing. And that's why I said, because you're chasing a moving target, it's going to be difficult, but it's not impossible. Definitely
I
supports.
I would go on a limb and say that I don't think they are too far behind the Red Bull. I don't think so.
Two to
I
three
think
tenths. I can live. I can. I'll
yes,
be
they're not too far
ecstatic
behind
about.
the Red Bull at all.
I'll be. I
From
see.
what the
Oh,
car was doing today,
I saw
yes.
Bradley tweet something about a long run where on the C3 Max, I think that was
Hmm.
the medium. He did average 130 point something, and that Lewis was basically on the harder compound average was 8 tenths slower over the stint.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking,
yeah.
and
Mm.
you know, Mercedes, they tend to, whenever they do testing, notice you can tell with them, they never test on soft compound tires. They either
No,
go for the medium or the hard tires.
the
And
hard
that's what they,
tires.
they
Yeah.
do all the baseline work on. So, you know, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed,
Fingers
indeed.
crossed.
I'm more excited today than I was a year ago
Yeah,
when they tested
you
it.
know,
It was crazy.
so hopefully the fans aren't too disappointed because some people, a lot of people expected that they were going to turn up and like top
No,
the
no, no.
time
If
sheets.
you watch that, if you watch the today's testing and you come up with a different thought process about what happened, I don't know how to tell you you were watching the back of your screen. If you are, I'm not even comparing Mercedes of the W14 with the W13 at all because they are not in the same league. I'm comparing this car with the top cars, the Ferraris and the Red Bulls that were there today. Even Max didn't. With the lap time he didn't have that car under control. He still had some, twerking and wobbling here and
And
there
his
on the track.
fastest lap
So
was done on the hard tires, which was what 8 tenths off the best overall time so far.
yeah,
So
who
yeah,
Lewis?
it's yeah. I saw
No, he did. I think it was in media. He did six.
no.
Six. Is
They
it
had
8 10? No, 6
they
tenths.
had it
Fastest lap was on the
was on the
mediums.
medium. So
Okay, to the
why they
mediums.
have
Okay.
it the
Yeah.
hard next to it?
That's on the long runs. He was
Okay,
doing
okay,
hard
cool.
time long runs at the end of the
Okay,
session.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's not bad. All right, hold on. I've got someone here. What's this common part screen? What's up,
Hey everyone.
Kaya?
I'm sure as you can tell by my accent, I was not going to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to
Where you
start
Mexican?
watching
You
test.
Mexican?
No, I'm American. I refuse to get up that
Polish?
American. I refuse
Okay,
to get
cool.
up that early. So I only caught about
Boo! You're not committed to the cause. Sorry, disappointing.
I only really got about maybe 30 to 45 minutes to see the last 30 to 45. But I guess I should caveat. I think we all are of the same mindset. Of course, it's fun to talk about testing, but keep in mind that I wouldn't say that testing is going to give us 100% of the results. So, I think that's optimism. I think the car, Merck in particular, looked really good today, but I'm excited for the season. My goodness. I think knowing the fact that Lewis was doing a lot of the development work last season, man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm like, I've been counting down. It's almost there, but I am really, really ready for this season. That car, I think it already looks
Well,
much more improved from the W13. So
compared to
definitely
the
looking.
W13, that
Oh yeah,
W14 looks like the W11. Put
yeah,
it that,
yeah.
Yeah,
put
that's
it that
that's
way.
an apt
And I know
But
people were
but
comparison.
saying
Yeah.
like the purposing thing, but like keep in mind that track in particular, I don't think it's been like paint whatever the word is for it, like repurposed or like sort of
resurfaced.
cleaned up essentially. So yeah, there's going to be a few little bumps. I think it might have been like
Oh,
what
it's a very
turn.
bumpy track. It has never
Yeah,
been a
exactly. Like it's
smooth
not going to
track.
be
It's very
perfect, but
bumpy.
the fact that it didn't look like it was on the car didn't look like it was on a trampoline for the first time, it was nice. So yeah, I just wanted to pop up in here. I've got to drop off for a meeting, work meeting, but just wanted to say like, keep in mind, everyone, testing is great. It's super fun, but it
Take
doesn't
with a
give us
pinch.
all of the
Take
answers.
you can
Exactly,
take
grain
it
of salt.
pinch of salt, but not the
Yeah,
Red
pinch of
Bull. The
salt.
Red Bull
Exactly.
is you can definitely tell the Red Bull is just it's hooked up, it's working, but we just don't know how big their advantage is at the moment. Next week, Q3, when everything is turned up to the max, then we'll know how much they have in hand from how much they've done.
Q3 last year was what 130.2 or something like that. So
I,
today they already do
I,
132. That's two
I
and a
don't
half
even know.
seconds behind.
But in saying that, man, this morning they nearly they basically ruined my start to the year already, man. I'm listening to the commentary and to hear Julian Palmer saying Mercedes didn't want Nick de Vries. I'm thinking, where was he supposed to go? Where were they supposed to put him? They got him a
reserve
they got him
driver.
a drive in Formula One. Every single
Yeah,
the drivers, Ocon and De Vries, who've been associated with Mercedes, are driving in Formula One. Granted, they're not driving
exactly.
for Mercedes, but they're driving in Formula One. So
Mhm.
they
But that's Mercedes for
look
them.
out
Yeah.
for these guys, and they managed to get them drives. And then I had to listen to the whole Will Buxton, Palmer, what's that? Lawrence Barato wasn't in this.
Forrest came
He
in
came
later.
in
He
late,
wasn't there at the beginning.
crafty,
Yeah,
talking about Minister of Defense, check out the work
of
he did
defense.
in,
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
yeah.
are
You
you
saw that tweet I did. They were actually just saying it out loud,
Max
like
won the championship
that.
because of
This guy is
what
a
he did.
number two driver. Yes, he
And they
has to.
basically,
He has
yeah,
to play ball. Otherwise, with Ricardo there, they're gonna show him the way. I'm like, why is it when it comes to Lewis, he has to have the most perfect teammate to run him
look,
off track? But
the
when it comes
situation
to
with
other
Lewis is
driver,
this: Lewis must have a teammate that challenge him. Every other driver should have a teammate that supports them.
that will support them. Yes, support them.
You're
That was
supposed to be their
crazy. They were
support
just
system.
saying it casually as if
You
it
know
was
what?
nothing.
I'd never been concerned about Lewis having a teammate that can challenge him because
No, no, not at all.
for me, I
No.
think if you have a teammate that can challenge you on an even playing field, no one's being handicapped, and you whoop their ass, then no one can talk shit. No one can say, "Oh, you got
Mm-hmm.
there," because that's one of the things they kept saying with regards to Bottas is, Bottas was just Lewis wing. Bottas was not a wingman
He wasn't a
by
pushover
right.
element.
He
Yeah.
became a
Yeah.
wingman because he basically got outperformed. So you
Yeah.
know he has always been given the equal opportunity to do the same thing. Everything there was nothing was hidden. But when you look at Perez and Max, it's not the case. And again, that's always been how Red Bull has operated since they had a lineup with Seb and Weber. It's always been a case of
Yeah.
okay, one guy's always going to be our
They, they
priority.
they basically just push one guy in front, and then the other
And the thing is,
the
and
job is to
here why I
support
don't
the job.
like it because those guys are just that much better than the teammate. Why handicap your teammate? Just give them a fair shot and let the best man go there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could develop the car in the direction of Checo, and Max would still beat. Max would still
Yeah.
beat him because
Exactly.
Max is just
Mm-hmm.
better than him. It's not.
It's
It's not
better. Yeah.
hyperbole.
Mhm.
It's a known fact.
It's better. Of course,
But
it's better.
I
Yeah.
mean, how they run the team is how they run the team. So that's not for me to say. All right, Kingsley, because since you watch most of it, and Bax, you guys watch most of it. Give me a rundown of the other teams. What about I'm gonna go with Nick and what's that freaking team name? AlphaTauri. Who was in it today? Him or
It was both of them. So Yuki went in the morning, and then
Yeah.
it was Nick in the afternoon. They were steady but not great, and they were porpoising quite a lot as
oh
well.
god.
So what you would expect from AlphaTauri, sort of towards the back, but I think Williams in particular have seemingly have made a bit of progress.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be them and Haas sort of in a little battle at the back. If we're taking today as an indication.
Yeah, I think Yuki's gone. This is Yuki's last year in Formula One. If he gets outperformed by Nick, which I think he will, I think that's going to be it for him. And it's sad, but at the end of the day, this is a performance. If you're not performing, you're not supposed to be here. And we've not seen as likable as Yuki is. It's not about likes. It's about how you perform, and he has not been performing since he's been in the sport. You literally can't pick a handful of races where you say, "Yep, Yuki really stood out." You can't, and it's a bit
Yeah.
sad that's gonna happen to him. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's been here since what? This is what his third season. This is gonna be his third,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
he hasn't looked any different to his first year. If anything, he seems to be going backwards. And
He's going back.
any hopes he had
But
of
again, I think I think how do I put it? So it doesn't sound. I think he was. I think where he was putting too much pressure on himself. Let me put it this way. So at the end of the day, a lot of at the later part of last year he was a bit better than when the first season and then the first part of last year and all those things. So in a way, maybe the way they handled it at the beginning was wrong. From everybody telling him what to do, he shouts too much on the radio. Whether it's a cultural thing, I don't know, but all of that probably affected him. And if you check his performance towards the middle part of that, he was a bit consistent. Then at least he wasn't crashing the car. Let's just put that way.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't crashing the car. He was probably finishing races, and then if the car stalls, it was not his fault. It was just the car breaking down at the end of the day, as opposed to when he first. I think that they might give him one more shot at it after this year. If I mean, the phrase beats him, that exposes him in a way, but I don't know. I don't think that will majorly just make them to cut him out of the team completely. I think they'll still give him one more year or 1 more
Yeah,
year to
but
get
how
a shot.
many? I mean, this is year 3, and you're
Yeah,
talking about, and if the Red Bull junior drivers in F3 and F2 perform admirable next year, if one of them goes on to win F2,
mm,
Red Bull are going to look to move him on. They're going to look
yeah,
to
but
move him on because he's been there 3 years, and if he hasn't shown any progress whatsoever, and like I said, if Nick comes in and Nick actually puts the beast and beats him properly, then
mm,
you can kind of understand why they
yeah,
say,
but if he
yeah, you
beats,
need to
that's
move
I
on
understand. Yeah,
because
if he beats him properly,
you're
yeah, but
not you're
I
not
think they will be matched. I don't think he will beat him that much. I think they will
and
probably be matched.
and like I said, it's probably sounds bad, but I genuinely think the Honda link is kept him there for 3 years. Honestly,
Yes,
I think the Honda link has kept him there for 3 years.
yeah,
I think
you're probably
without
right.
that link,
He
truthfully,
probably
I
would
think without
be.
that link, I don't think he would have even been promoted to Formula One.
He probably would have been promoted, but I can see a part where with how ruthless Red Bull are, they could probably yank him out in the middle of the season and just say, "Go, we don't want you anymore," and then
Yeah,
put someone else.
I mean,
Yeah,
when did Max come into Formula One? 2015 or 2016?
15.
2015. Red Bull literally fired the driver lineup for 2014, which was Vern, and I can't remember who else was his teammate. And Vern did really well in 2014, and they just said nah, and just fired both of them and brought in Sainz and Max. So
yeah.
they're that sort of team. All right, Rory, what's up?
Hello, Thomas. Hope
What's
you had
up?
a good day and everyone else in the space. Yeah, I just watching testing. The only part of testing I got to watch was the afternoon sessions. And going on with the other teams, like, I know McLaren had the brakes issues, which last year as well, manufacturing issues. Aston, we don't know what stopped them how they stopped in the car. The reason why Red Bull's only issue today was a rear jack failure, and that was it. Ferrari porpoising, and AlphaTauri. Haas were front locking. Both drivers were locking their brakes, going into each corner, every corner basically, especially
Mm.
turn one. I think they're going to have a step backwards this year. It's going to be for the bottom. It's going to be Williams and Haas. I think, yeah, it's taking tests to pinch of salt, but I think Mercedes are looking better. They're not porpoising. Actually, I thought the Ferrari looked a bit stiff
Holy
today.
shit!
Like,
Oh, sorry to call you. I'm sorry, people.
no, it's okay.
I'm just deviating a bit. I'm actually watching Sky Sport and just saw a pop up that John Motson died. Like, what the
Yeah,
shit, dude? 2023 is a really fucked up has a fucked up start to the year. Sorry. Carry on, Rory.
No, I saw that news. Heartbreaking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Yeah. Testing commentary was terrible today. I fell asleep listening. The only highlight was only Anthony Davidson doing a Crofty impersonation.
yeah. That
I
was
heard that.
hilarious.
I heard that.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was
who
hilarious.
which team I fear for this year? Truthfully,
Mm.
McLaren.
In a
Yeah,
bad way or
A
a good
bad
way?
way.
yeah, in a bad way.
A bad way.
Yeah.
I've got a
Mm.
bad feeling about them this year, and I think it. If your team principal is coming out on the day you're launching your car and saying, you know what, you're not happy, and you don't think you basically wrote off your season before you've even seen the car. I don't know. I just have a
I think
bad feeling about
what was
McLaren.
amusing for me was during their run, the 100-kilometer run, they were basically the video that they put out. They basically just blurred the
Yeah, they blurred the floor.
and then today the car shows up and there's nothing. I didn't see anything that innovative they were hiding at the end of the day. So maybe there's something I didn't
But
see.
it's not about innovation. But I just think the team. I mean, they've lost their team principal. Was it Seidel left last year to go to Alpha? Alpha Audi. I mean, the year before, I don't know. I just don't see
I think at
McLaren
some
making
point
any
they
progress
will
forward.
start
And then
asking questions the direction
and
Zach is
then
taking.
I saw the news. And then I saw the news yesterday about Zach Brown went to see Red Bull about possible
engine.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
After those cost cap comments, he just goes to Red Bull.
Forget even the cost cap comments. Porsche's out there, for Christ's sake. Porsche's out there. Honda is out there. Because Honda, obviously the Honda Red Bull partnership, that's done for 2020.
Yeah, it's gone.
That's gone. Right?
It's gone.
And given that Honda is registered as to be in a supplier to be a supplier for 2020. Dude, get on your knees. Zach, get on your knees. Walk 3,000 one of them Honda big boys to get back on a factory deal or something. But Red Bull, come on, and you've got Porsche out there. Dude, I don't know. I just.
How do you walk back that relationship with Honda?
It can be fixed. It can be fixed.
Of course, it can be fixed. But the conditions, what happened? Maybe the conditions. How are we not sure they've actually gone back first to ask for it and they were turned down?
Honda, Zach Brown offered Honda 50% of McLaren racing team.
Yeah, but that's if Honda wants a team. You know what I mean? And I don't think do they really want a team, because if they wanted a team, they probably could have tried. Yeah, they would have. You know, they probably could have tried and see if they could get AlphaTauri. They could have tried to buy AlphaTauri.
Is it not ironic that their motto was fiercely forward?
Who?
McLaren's motto was fiercely forward.
Where? Into a brick wall.
In F1 to go up the grid, basically.
That's fiercely forward into a brick wall, because they're not going anywhere. McLaren, since Lewis has left, have just basically fallen off a cliff. They've just been going backwards. In 2021, they looked kind of better, but then that was just like,
the flash in the pan.
Yeah, granted, Lando was the only non-Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari driver to get a podium, but they didn't look like they were in no man. I mean, they got beaten to fourth in the championship by Alpine.
Yeah.
Granted, it's only one person was scoring points for
that
McLaren.
tells you Ricciardo didn't perform last year at all.
I don't know.
That points was hurting by Lando. So
I have no confidence in McLaren. I see them basically as a team that's just now they're really stuck in no man's land. They don't know where they're going.
Do you know what? You have a car last year that was consistently having a brake problem. You would think that's the first thing they would try to engineer out of that car. And they come back to 2023 and they're still having the same problem. And then how do you even fix that?
That seems like a manufacturing problem.
But then the manufacturing problem, they even if they're suppliers to them, that's one of the things the team principal will doing, making sure that everything is done correctly. If you was repeating the same problem of last year, this year, you're still going to have that problem going forward. Granted, this is just testing. If that follows them into the first race of the season, the first quarter, they'll be having a hard time trying to deal with that on its own before looking for performance in the car, which is basically non-existent at the moment. So it's crazy.
Okay,
at some point, they'll start talking. I think Zach Brown, maybe because I don't know.
Zach Brown is not the man.
At some point,
they just
start asking questions. Is this the right guy to take McLaren to the next level?
And the thing is, McLaren are stretching themselves too thin. They found themselves in everything now. They're in Formula One, Formula E,
Everywhere. Yeah.
IndyCar, Formula Extreme E. Like, I
They're
think they're
everywhere.
stretching
Yeah.
themselves too
Hmm.
thin. And I guess probably that most of these things they've gone into because, they're trying to find places for the staff because of
Where the stuff will
the
come from.
cost cap. So they have to move people around, to keep them in jobs and so on. But I don't know. I have no confidence in McLaren whatsoever right now. They just
Not at
seem,
all.
and I don't think Zach Brown is the man to
I
lead them
don't. Me
back.
neither. I don't think so.
It
Yeah.
needs it need as um, it needs someone like a Ron Dennis. Sorry, it needs that sort of structure. Someone who's like he's no, it's not all fun and games and laughter
It's
and whatnot.
ruthless.
He's
Ruthless.
ruthless. You know what I
Someone who
mean?
is
If you look
ruthless. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
remember, he said it when he left Mercedes to go to Honda. He said, "Look, you're not going to win a championship being a customer team. So
And that's
so
true. Most of the
let's
time.
go."
Yeah.
So he went out and got that. They got that Honda deal, and they lost that Honda deal because of one person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now look where they are. And they left Honda. Honda went to Red Bull, worked with Red Bull, they won 2 championships
They basically developed the Honda engine
and
to the
gave it to
point
Red
where it
Bull.
become like, and then they gave it away. That's it.
So, all right, hold on. Hold on. NK, what's up, my brother? Don't swear into the place.
NK is not cursing today. No. He's happy.
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm fucking here. Alrighty
Oh
then.
God.
Yeah. For fuck's sakes. Yes, yes.
Oh
I
God.
saw that car. Hey, it's good. It's
Mm-hmm.
good, right? And I can guarantee you one thing. I don't give a shit about the championship this year, right? As long as we go back to just winning races. You know? Let's win races this season, and next year, once we fucking sorted it out, we can go for our eighth. But I can
No,
bet you
NK,
right
I
now.
want
No,
championship
no, no,
this
no,
year.
no,
I
no.
just
NK,
want
no,
races,
no,
man. We
no,
want
no. I
champion.
want to
I don't
win
want to
this year.
wait until.
I don't
I
want
don't
to
want to
wait.
give Max 3 in a row, dude.
No,
But
no, no,
that
no, no,
Red
no,
Bull
no, no.
looks good, eh?
I don't want to
Yeah,
give
that
Max.
the
I
Red
don't
Bull is
want Max
planting,
coming
man.
to the 3 in a row
Don't get it twisted. I hate
club,
that
man.
that that
No,
that that
I
piece of
don't
shit.
want that,
Like
man.
you won't believe, but he's still in it. Hey, there's nothing you can do. Hey, that flipping
Oh
piece
yeah.
of shit still in it with that car. But the most important thing, that Mercedes looks good, but not great. But remember, with Lewis, we don't need a great car. We need a good car because he's great. Then we know we're gonna win some races, right?
If you get it within if you get it within a tenth to 2/10 of the Red Bull, I think that's something we can work with. That's you can win You can win with
A
that because
championship with that kind of gear.
again on occasions like that you see where a driver makes the difference. All right, thanks, NK. I've got Clinton. What's up?
Good. I don't know what time zones we're all in. So, anyways, good day. I
When
guess so.
you're
I'll use an Australian lingo. Good day. Um, yeah. So as far as F1 testing goes, the W14, it looks like a beast. It sounds like a beast.
is it a beast
Uh,
or is it a pussycat?
yeah, and I
It's a
think,
black beast.
well, I think that it's been. I was listening to Toto Wolff quite carefully and George Russell very carefully. I do think that Mercedes are sandbagging right now. And Toto, went so far as to say that today's testing session was just about making sure that the car was balanced correctly. And his words were, it wasn't about performance. So we know the car has performance. The good news is I didn't see any porpoising on the car at all. So I think that's fascinating. Um, and it's not just about the porpoising and the suspension side of it. The aerodynamics, obviously, people here are aware of the redesigned front wing. So I think that both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are going to have a great car this season. I think the car I'm most excited to watch, and I'm not. So let me put my bias out there. So I am a Mercedes guy, but the car that I'm most excited to watch is probably the Alfa Romeo from an engineering perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because when Alfa Romeo released the photographs of their car,
What happened?
You're breaking.
their
What happened?
yeah, sorry, I
Yeah.
apologize. When they released
You,
their photographs from a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, the Alfa Romeo, I was really, really impressed with the jagged rectangular left and right sides of the floor,
hmm
because that looked, from an engineering perspective, really interesting. And I can't help but wonder if Alfa Romeo has done that in order to maybe seal the floor, maybe to do something around air turbulence for the Venturi tunneling through the floor. And then the other reason I think the Alfa Romeo looks really interesting is the back deck of the car. I don't know if anyone noticed, but the rear deck is significantly wider than last year's car, and it
hmm
looks like it's being done so to sort of redirect the airflow to the rear wing. So for me, the two cars I'm most interested in is the W14 and the Alfa Romeo. I think Red Bull, it's basically more or less more of the same. And, and I think Ferrari will be interesting too to see whether or not the stories that were circulating a month ago that Ferrari had found, 20, 25, 30 additional horsepower is legit. Because if
I
that's,
think that's a misleading story. I think what basically they didn't find any new power. What it basically meant is because of the reliability issues they had
they
last year,
had
they
to
couldn't
down
run the
tune it.
engine at the optimum
That's
um,
right.
optimum. So by fixing it, they now can do that. So basically, it's like saying they by turning it down, they reduced it by 20 bhp. So it's not any new found development that gave them extra performance or anything like that. So I think people really misread that statement because it was the same for Mercedes. Because there's rumors that their reliability fixes and tweaking the software meant they've gained and something like 13 to 15 bhp. But again, it's what they already had, but they just couldn't use it.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
exactly what's happened. But I guess my worry is that if it's true that last season that they down tuned it by, let's say, on the high end 30 horsepower, and that this year
hmm
they're able to completely unleash that 30 horsepower because they found reliability somewhere. I mean, that could be really problematic on those tracks with long straights, because that would mean the Ferrari would be very fast. Because last year, I would argue that especially the first half of the season, the Ferrari was easily keeping up with the Red Bull down some of those big
Yep.
straights, and so that's a bit of a problem. And then lastly, I just want to say, I really hope that we haven't really heard exactly what's happened to Lance Stroll. I mean, I've heard rumors it's like a broken arm, an injured arm,
I
whatever.
heard he broke both wrists.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I really hope he's gonna be okay. I hope he's not permanently injured, or that it ends his racing career or anything like that. I think that would really suck.
Yeah.
So
But I
I
don't think
wish him
he'd
good
be at the
luck.
first race though. I don't think he'd be being Bahrain next
You're
week.
probably right. I mean, if all these rumors are true that he's walking around with casts and stuff,
Yeah, I
that
think
really
we're
sucks.
probably going to see Alonso Djokovic probably for the first four races of the season
Yeah, and
because the reports
you're right.
doesn't
You're
sound good
100%
at
right.
all.
Yeah, I agree with
Doesn't.
you. And the only other thing I just want to throw out there is, to me, the thing to watch this season is the Red Bull dynamic, because I don't know if anybody noticed today, but Perez didn't get to go out on the track at all today. It
Yeah,
was
I heard that Max is
That's
doing a day and a half
that's how you
straight, and
yeah,
then
Max
Perez does the final day and a half. So Max is doing half day tomorrow. Then that's his testing over.
over here.
Then it's Paris for the remainder.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I do think that's going to be interesting, because a couple of weeks ago, Verstappen gave that interview where he basically, without saying Perez's name, he said number two drivers are number two drivers because they're incapable of winning and they'll never be champions.
Yeah,
And that was clearly an
yeah.
attack on Perez. And
hmm
so it'll be interesting to see in the first three races of the season if Perez and Verstappen are going to be a team, or whether they're going to actually go at each other. Because if they go at each other, I think Perez is probably going to be let go by Red Bull.